Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to this week's podcast. And on this week's podcast, I'm joined by a good friend of mine known as Alastair Jennings. I'll let him explain who he is briefly. And this was a bit more of a gear-related chat, and we also talk about a little bit of why businesses should be trying to utilize video and thinking about utilizing video as we are going into this next stage of reopening and such of that nature as well. But I hope you guys do enjoy this interview. It was great to have him on and hear his thoughts and some of his background from a more traditional and also print media perspective as well. But if you are enjoying these podcasts, I would love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. And thank you guys so much for the support on the channel lately. It's been really, really appreciated, and it's been great seeing this channel grow a little bit as well. And I'm also having a huge amount of fun creating for you guys as well. So I've got plenty more to come in the coming weeks and months. So if you would not like to miss that, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let me cut into the interview, and I'll see you at the very end. Enjoy.
So I'm Alastair Jennings. I've been working as a photographer, videographer, writer, new media editor back in the 90s. Yeah, that's basically me. I've been freelance full-time, run my own business, and I'm presently employed for one of essentially a heritage brand, heritage publisher in the UK. But I've worked at probably the leading independent magazine publisher in the UK, pretty much globally, since the late 90s up until about 3 years ago. So varied. I've done a varied amount of things, but always with photography and video kind of at the core of what I'm doing.
So you briefly mentioned before I cut you off about uni and that kind of thing. So do you want to sort of elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I went to Plymouth University and did a course that at the time was called Media Arts. This is essentially, now looking back, it was a course that should be around now, because really the technologies and all of the stuff that we were doing hadn't really come to fruition. The technology, although it was there, wasn't up to what we were trying to do, what we were being essentially led through and taught. Everything was just starting. The dot-com boom had just got its sort of first step up. So we were learning about programs that have gone into obscurity, like Director, which was superb. So Shockwave, Flash, even that's disappeared now. We were editing with the first digital cameras, so we were editing video on computer as well as on edit desks, so Beta and VHS, and using the very first, I think, iteration of Photoshop. So we're getting to learn all of these new tools alongside reel-to-reel, Super 16, 35mm, 8mm, which was my personal favorite. So we used to go out with 8mm cameras and these little Tascams and what are they called? BAT machines. Go back, then you'd edit each piece individually, then you spool it all together on a massive Steinbeck. And yeah, recording on Arriflexes and Bolexes, big old cameras. And then at the same time, we had these little Panasonic 3 CCD digital cameras and filming on those, which was mini DV at the time. So it was brilliant because we got to learn all these different disciplines, which really wouldn't come around to be popularized for another 10 years. And then I went straight from there into magazine publishing and worked for a company called Rapide down in Exeter. Essentially, we're a bunch of young upstarts who were challenging sort of the larger publishing companies. And we worked hard, we played hard, and we were stereotypical 1990s, early 20s media people. So, except we were right down in the West Country. So there was a lot of cider drunk rather than cocktails. And I think we were a little bit brash. And sure enough, the company went bankrupt relatively quickly. Um, and then I went from there where I was doing a lot of photography, did early screen capture. Now, before we had, I don't know what it's called. What's the video gaming platform where people watch people play games on YouTube?
Twitch.
That's it. Before Twitch, we had PC Gamer, and
Oh God.
yeah, exactly. And we used to do screen captures of it wasn't PC Game, but it was later on. But yeah, used to do game screen capture. So I used to sit there with Dreamcast, the original PlayStation, wire those into capture boxes. I then captured the video, and people would play like Tomb Raider, Tekken 3, and stuff like that. And it's amazing. And there's a program on TV, um, which had Patrick Moore doing stuff, and one of our publishers was one of the guys from it. And there was all this very big, there was a lot of money involved. And then almost overnight, the whole thing just went kaboom. And so a lot of us went freelance. I went up to another company for about a year, but things were struggling. You know, we'd gone from having a lot of money to play with, and we did like Quake Arena tournaments by hiring out wrestling rings, and you know, it was silly, it was ridiculous, and it was good fun. Um, so I think a lot of us, I know a lot of media agencies in London at the time, they closed their doors and said, we'll come back in a year when it recovers. So I packed up, I went to Australia with a friend, and we were out there for just over a year. Came back, and nothing recovered. The dot-com boom had absolutely popped. So since then, I did a lot of video work, and then CD-ROMs, a lot of coding, you know, just to see it through, waiting for everything to come back. But it's only now, and I think now's a really interesting time, because all that technology that we were kind of taught 21 years ago is here. And it's not the fledgling technology that we had, where we were doing, we did a series for a magazine called Frontside Busted, which is basically PC guys destroying Mac equipment. So we ran it over with tanks. We dropped monitors out of buildings. I remember it's quite a well-known tech journalist who battered a load of wireless routers, early wireless routers with baseball bats. And we used to put these on CD-ROMs because there was no other avenue. And then I worked for a Byte Mag, and we were doing VHS, or the video team at the time was doing VHS. We launched the website, which long since gone and been incorporated to something else. But we were all trying to find these video platforms, and YouTube really wasn't around. And it's amazing when you think now that we've now got Vimeo, YouTube, Brightcove, all these other video platforms. We didn't have those, and you were kind of trying. Everyone's trying to run their own media platforms from their own servers, and you were being charged like huge bandwidth costs and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's interesting now that it's come full circle. So it's kind of the aspirations of 20 years ago, and now we're now here. We're doing it, and it's amazing. So yeah, I mean, my business has sort of gone full circle now that the technology has caught up with what I do. It's become very interesting, because now I can do what I kind of trained to do, and actually in the background I've been doing, but not always as my main job. So I've been able to have my own YouTube channel some time ago, do works YouTube channels. I've run 3 of those with various success. One of them was very successful. And now it's that time where actually the refinement of what you do and that training over the years, and it's all that's trial, error, and fail, it's really coming through. And it's really nice to see that now I can develop a video or a photography thing, put it up online for a company, involving other people. And I think that's where things have really changed. You can't really be a lone wolf. You've got to look at your support and your network of other creatives to pull together to really make something successful. Um, but yeah, it's just nice. So my business is photography and video, with a lot of digital interactive media that has been built in over the years.
Okay. That's I think that's interesting to see in the respect to, like, it's good to hear from other people who do very similar things to what I do, in the respect to, they take an idea and then they kind of put it into reality, in the respect to, like, whether it's a video, whether it's a photo campaign, or whatever it may be in that respect. So that's kind of interesting to hear from your development, in the respect to, like, what you learned very early on, you know kind of then going through and then sort of having to find ways to still, make a living, and kind of find other ways before the technology was sort of lagged in that respect, as well. Do you see it continuing to become very prevalent, in the respect to how advertising's done, how messaging is done, how those kind of campaigns are done from a larger scale? Or do you see it pivoting or changing specifically in the future?
I think now is probably the most exciting time that we've had, because over the last 10 years, really since the advent of YouTube, I think that's changed everything, and Facebook. Um, Now people are realizing that curated content is good and professionally produced content is good. So there's an interesting kind of way of looking at things. If you've got a video, and you'll often see this on TV, especially on cooking programs, that the visuals are secondary to the audio. And you would have thought that with cooking, the visuals would be the major thing, but the audio would be kind of secondary. But actually, if you've got great audio, then you can have complete blur. Nobody cares. They kind of get the idea with the audio. And it's audio design mixed with the richness of video, brought together. Um, and I think it's those techniques that people are realizing. So when you're looking at sort of amateur footage on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter, you'll see something. It's normally a cat or a dog doing something bizarre. And you go, yeah, that's great, that's funny. But it's a one-hit wonder. Now, the people who are successful, and you look at a lot of the people who are doing really well on YouTube, and actually their videos are elevated. They're on another level. So they might come across as chilled out and relaxed, but actually they've been really assertive on their training. So they've probably got the ability to present and to make interesting content and video. But what they've done is they've really honed their video skills. So they know when to have things sharp, when to have things out of focus, how to use audio design to really boost those videos. And then they've learned the technical aspects as well as the creative aspects. They've put them together, and it doesn't matter kind of which YouTube star you look at, but the makeup artists, if they do it behind the scenes, you suddenly see they've got these Rode NTG4s, like pointing down at them with this massive, Rotolite light glaring at them, to make sure their lighting is right. And I think that's the thing. I mean, I was listening to Radio 4 the other day, and you've got a lot of presenters who are working from home, and the ones who've got a little bit of technical training, or they've been given that technical training. Their audio is actually rich and beautiful. They know that distance. They know how to wire their mics. And so I think the technology today essentially makes everything easier. So it's easier to become an expert, but there is still that need to know your equipment and know how it works to get that rich content. So yeah, I think today is a really good time. It means that more people can publish content, publish great content and engaging content. But behind it, I think there's still training. I mean, a YouTuber will generally have trained at something else or not trained at something else. But the video side and that production side is not their main thing. But they've taken that time to really, hone their skills. And YouTube's great for that. The creator forums and the studio, you go on there, you ask a question, and somebody will come back, and often it's one of the YouTube people, because they know the higher quality their content, um, the better it is. So yeah, I think there's a real thing now is the time to become a creator, but also now's the time to highlight your skills as a creative. One thing which has happened in the last 10 years, people have got their smartphones from the original iPhone upwards and gone, hey, I can shoot video and I'll do video for, and you've seen these really dodgy videos for local stores and things going, it's like the old Carmart videos you used to see in movies with the guy with the Stetson and stuff. But I think people have come to realize that actually you do need good quality video, and people don't have the time, especially if you're a shop or a local enterprise or whatever. So that's where I think people like yourself and me come into the equation. We have those skills, we can go in, we can actually go, right, let's have a look at your scripting, because a lot of people think that they can just roll in and just go, hi, I just want to introduce you to my milliner, or whatever. And actually they're there going, hi. So, and I think with that experience of shooting video and scripts and lights and everything else, we can go in and just kind of guide people through. And when people look at the video they've created compared with the video that we can create, then there's a huge difference. I mean, obviously for the local Lib Dems, the difference between some of the self-shot video a few years ago, and then it's only quick, it's not complex stuff. Everything from, the three candidates, for them has been very off the cuff, but it's just getting a little bit of those production values. You can't be there doing the sound checks. You can't be there doing all the color checks because you don't have the time, but you can whip in, whip out. And by opening up the aperture, kicking out the backgrounds, getting a little bit of motion on a stabilizer, gimbal, you can add those professional little bits that really elevate the quality of the footage. So yeah, it's just interesting. I think there's several things, but I think kit has allowed. I'm not spending 500 quid on a mic. I bought 2 Rode podcaster mics the other day for like 60 quid each. It's not 400 pounds, which I think I must have spent on my first first proper mic. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that gear's definitely coming down in price and definitely coming down in so then it becomes more available because it's cheaper. But the quality in regards to like how much you spend in regards to the quality that you get is also getting a lot better as well overall. Would you say, because I know that some people have said to me, and I have conversations with business owners and other videographers and etc. on a daily basis, and some of them, especially the business owners, are more skeptical around, oh well, what can video do for me? Why would video work for me? I can't see how video will work for me, etc. Have you found? I mean, there's kind of two questions here. Firstly, like why do you think it works? Why do you think it's engaging? Why do you think it's important? And then secondly, in that, have you found in your line on what you've done that you have a situation where you have to kind of explain partly why it works, and also then sort of guide that client or that person or that shop owner or that business owner through the process of how actually creating a video from start to finish actually is?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's several issues with clients. One is that everyone thinks that a minute video takes a minute to shoot. And so whenever you're there and you say, right, I'm doing a 3-minute video, I'm going to be shooting probably for a day, and then probably a day or two editing, and then you'll get your rough draft. Plus it's a day prep before, and they're like, what, for a 3-minute video? And there's that explanation that actually when you look at the script and the storyboard, they have hired you to get a message over. So it might be an instructional video, so what you'll learn, and then you have to base it as a kind of online course, or you know it's a presentation, or it's going into a box or something. It's instructional video. Doesn't matter. Um, so that takes a lot of planning, and actually with video, it's the pre-planning, then it's the shooting, it's the equipment. It takes a long time to color check, to audio check, and everything else. So the first issue that I always seem to have with clients is that they feel that it's explaining how long it takes to put a video together. Second one is the expense. So 3-minute video, and you give them the amount that that's going to cost, and they balk at it. And they go, well, I can do this with my iPhone, whatever, for free. And you go, well, do it. There's a reason that that you need to get this done professionally. You want to put that message over professionally. You need the advice on how to structure your video so that it's going to hit your market. Now, a lot of companies will be working, it's normally the CEO or the MD who decides or a division head who goes, right, we'll do this video. And everyone thinks that either they're going to get the next whatever video, what do you call it, where people just pick up a video and pass it on to others.
Oh,
Right.
viral trend or viral video.
Yeah. So they come to me with sort of, right, I've got this brilliant idea for a viral video. And then you have to explain, look, a viral video only becomes viral if A, it's handled in the right way, but B, the content. You just don't know what a viral video is going to be. You can't say the viral video project because you just can't do it. Or they have such high expectations. So I've had 3 or 4 clients wanting drone footage of their, and you go, well, yes, possible, but you know, just to take off a drone, you're looking at about 500 quid. Uh, and then the whole thing, if it's of a building, that changes November 1st because we will be able to fly over a building. But, I'll have to hire in the next level of drone competency to myself. And that's expensive. I'm relatively cheap. But then the next level up is hugely expensive. And I didn't bother in the end renewing drone license or anything. It's just too expensive. It wasn't worth my while. I mean, just to take a drone off really cost 1,500 quid of time, and so telling that to a client that you can't take a drone off, which their son or daughter will have, and video their buildings because it will cost money. That's another difficult thing. So I think it's just reining in expectations, explaining cost. And actually, once you sit down, most of the people you shoot video for are business people. And once you sit down and you go, right, I can do this, it's going to cost X, I can do this, it's going to cost, and you kind of give a modular approach. So if they write the scripts, you'll have to check them, but then you're going to be the one putting on a teleprompter. So you've got 20 minutes just correcting and get so I think it's explanation, but then I think just 1 or 2 meetings prior to the day's shoot, it's very easy to explain why they need video. If they've got a marketing person there, then it's really easy because that sale's been done. If it hasn't been done for you, then that marketing person needs to be replaced. But with video, I think the major things which we've done are little short videos for promotion, 30-second stings for Twitter, Facebook, really just to embed the brand. So if you take a shop, say in Salisbury or somewhere, you use Google Local and other things local, someone types in, yeah, I want to go to Al's kebab house or something, I don't know, feel hungry. Then they've got a video, and it shows, how great the place is. Then that pops up on your Twitter, your Facebook feed, and that brand, if you get that brand there, then Al's Eatery will be there, and people walk through Salisbury and go, yeah, brilliant, there it is. Where they might walk past 10 restaurants and not really get that engagement. So videos are really good. Short form video, very short form video is really good for just embedding brand. Then if you're doing, say, jewelry designer, if they want to advertise an online course, they can go, right, undecided about the course. I'm going to show you very quickly how to do, some silver bashing or whatever. And they just do a very short instructional video, 1 to 2 minutes, still short form, but help people to keep their interest. And it's a really nice way. And people, when people type in, "Oh, I'm looking for jewelry courses locally," what you're looking for with video is kind of things which people will look for. Got websites like Answer the Public, which are really good for ascertaining kind of what people are searching for and how people are searching. Um, and then you can kind of formulate a full package around the video, because someone will come to you and go, "I've got a beer making business." And you go, let's sit, have a drink, and have a chat. And what do you want? Why do you want video? And they won't know. They just go, "Well, everyone's got video. Well, I want."
It seems like a great idea.
Yeah. And to be honest, 90% of clients, really, that's it. If you've got someone who goes, "Right, I want one video and I want 3 versions of it. I want a little short version for Twitter and Facebook. I want a 2-minute version which can be used instructionally, and then I want a larger," never happens. So what you do is you sit down with your client and go, "Right, look, this is your product. You're wanting ultimately to bring more customers through. You want that video with the greatest reach. How are you going to get it out there? How are you going to divide it up? Never have just one video. Have an abridged version, and then extend it out for all your different platforms. Charge obviously as the creator for each of those." But actually, if you give people their marketing plan as well, you introduce them to, is it Hootsuite or Buffer, to do that, probably set them up with, say, 10 tweets over a 2-3 week period, then advertising the what they'll learn in those videos, then that's really good. And also, always find that video works well with a bit of editorial photography, and you put together a marketing package for them. If they've got a marketeer, then they'll do that, but quite often you have to do that as well, and it just adds value. And if it works, which more often than not it'll work downside better than anything they've done in the past, they come back to you and they go, "Look, can we do a bit more?" And then you're set with your first or second or third or fourth client. It's kind of, if you're a gardener, you initially you pick up the grass mowing and things grow from there. I say gardener because I've just been doing some stuff for a gardener. But it's the same thing. You do 1 or 2 little bits, photographs of the garden that they've done before and afters. Everyone loves it, and then it builds on that. That they want, little videos of tours of the garden, or a 360 tour, or and you can do these things. You can elaborate and help them. There's a lot, because we're embedded within audio visual. We can become complacent about its power, whereas just something beautiful on video will get people watching it. I think probably the best demonstration of any videography in recent years on just how beautiful everything in the program comes together is the Detectorists. And I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't.
Right, BBC. It's just about people with metal detectors, and it shouldn't be as incredibly good as it is. But there's little sequences, and as the series go on, whoever the videographer and the audio technician are, they must have spent hours. I mean, Mackenzie Crook, right, wrote the script, and it's beautifully written. Nothing happens, and but the video is just beautiful. And just watch. They've got Johnny Flynn who's a folk musician. He does the opening sequence music. Just beautiful. You watch it and you just go, "Oh, that's nice." And it's just one of those things. It's a real powerful tool, and I think if you can get that power and beauty into anything that you do, you take that extra, that your video show reel where you're shooting into the light in the market square, you know, that is one of those scenes that just makes people start like, oh, that's really beautiful. That's, you know, it's that type of footage that isn't just direct to camera. And yeah, it's a powerful medium.
No, definitely. And I think that the more people, I think kind of in some ways is a snowball effect. Like, because like when I know from the people I've talked to from Salisbury Indies perspective have said like they all look at what each other's doing, right? And like say for example, I do a video for a shop, and then all the shops around them look at it and go, "Oh, that was nice. Oh, that looks like something I saw on telly, or what you know, whatever it may be." And then for me, it's kind of a passive ad, because it's like everything I do will be an ad to why it works, you know, or a concept of like, oh well, how did we have a conversation, you know, was there my content that I've done just for fun part of that conversation at some point? The answer is probably yes. You know, where was your initial content? Where did you initially find what I do? And the likelihood is you probably saw a video of mine, whether that's directly through something that I've done for branding or indirectly through something I've done for a client that you've then seen and then gone, oh, I can see how that works for me, you know, or maybe not necessarily see how it works, but you can see a potential, and then that's why a conversation begins, and then one thing leads to another, and then eventually hopefully there'll be videos made, and they're wonderful and lovely in that respect. So that's, you know, that's from my side, that's how I've seen it sort of develop. And I definitely agree, it's one of those sort of captivating factors that's like, if you go onto a website and the first thing you're greeted with is a video, you're then like already engaged with that website, and you're already more likely to be like, okay, cool, I already kind of understand, especially an introductory video, I already understand what the business is. So then you're more likely to scroll down and look at blog posts and look at images and look at pricing and look at, you know, whatever it may be, for, so whether it's a jeweler's or a garden center or a, you know, supermarket or whatever it may be, you know, in that respect. I think that it's only going to increased demand, especially as we come out of COVID lockdown and in that respect as well. I think there's going to be a kind of look at marketing from this time, and this will kind of lead on to my next question for you as well. But I think that there will be a kind of look at what they were doing marketing wise and look at how they can then be different moving out. So in that respect, my question was in kind of in two parts. Firstly, well, you know, has COVID affected your business, if it has at all, and the work you've been able to do, and then secondly, do you have an action plan going out of lockdown and when things go back to new normal or normal, you know, in that respect?
Yeah, well, I've been working for the last 3-4 years as a global videographer and photographer for a company. It's really good work. It's a great company, but I am on furlough. So on that aspect, it's great. What it's been, it's set me up for the future in a way that I now know that when I buy in new kit and I go straight into it, I've got years of experience behind me, I know how a lot of kit works, but there's all those intricacies of the kit that I don't know because I've never read that they've got these features. So I'm using things in the way that I've always used them. And actually, I'm now going to, I say this, try to take that time just to find out what that bright green button or whatever does, you know. So I think what COVID's done for me personally, it's just given me a bit of time just to refresh on skills, do a bit of training. Quite a few years ago, I did the theory part of my PCFO, which is drone flying. Suddenly realised that with the insurance, the time it takes, I think, as I said, the cost of it was through the roof. And a close friend of mine did his at the same time. So essentially, any drone work that came through, I've just given to him to do. because it made sense. He's superb. He flies all around the world doing drone footage, and to be honest, I do a lot of his editing and other bits and pieces. So it made sense. I mean, initially it was about 70 quid a month, and that's a lot on the insurance every month. So COVID sort of made me revisit that because I've flown drones literally since they came out. I thought they were great fun. So I've just started doing the new course, which is not the main one. It's the A2 CFC. You can do a bit of commercial flying. It's still quite involved, but that will suit me. All I'm going to do is go to a club and fly drones. Have fun, not commercially. But there's other bits and pieces that I've done. I've just refamiliarized myself with Lightroom, Photoshop, Premiere. Found a few new things in Final Cut Pro that I didn't realize were there, and working out how to plug in two podcasting mics without a traditional audio interface. Just got a new device called a Evo 4, which is just mind blowing. Fits in your bag. It's just, how does that work? So I can record like professional radio style audio quality easily. I think I've always been able to do it, but I've required a wheelie Pele case, with all the kit in there. Now I can turn up with a haversack and, that's it. A small backpack. In fact, it's probably a Sainsbury's carrier bag by the end of furlough. But it's there, and COVID, furlough, the lockdowns just enabled me that extra time just to learn a few new things, and also those things which you're never quite sure about. And one of the really retentive things that I've done is sorting old camera bags into kits. So I now have all of my filters for a certain type of, ND, dump one bag. So if I want to go out shoot landscapes at 5 o'clock in the morning, I can grab that bag, out I go. Likewise, I've got my podcasting bag, which I've been working on at the moment. I've got my drone bags, which are just in the background. Others, I've sorted out my kit, which I've meant to do for years. So rather than it being in a box going essential photo stuff, which initially was just one.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
It's a good name. It's a good name.
Turned into three. And, I went through and go, maybe those filters shouldn't just be lying in there like that. So, and it's going through, making sure all my lipos are properly charged and stuff. So it's been good. I'm sort of coming to the end of the kit sort out, which is good. Quite a few neighbours are equipped with lots of camera kit. So, but yeah, so from that angle, it's been good. The other bit is getting accounts and all that sort of side of things sorted. And it's been interesting because coming out, I think the interesting part is coming out of COVID. How's it going? How am I going to adapt back to working life? And I think throughout furlough, doing little things like this with you, I've assigned Wednesday afternoons as working afternoon. So throughout the whole of my furlough, I've really kind of on the hour tried to pack in as much into a really busy Wednesday afternoon. So I finish it with a few beers with the mates later on this evening. And we're all sort of doing very similar things, although a couple of them are still working. And it's just, what is basically coming out is that before COVID, there was all this new technology around. People were using some of it, not using other bits. The way that we interact, generally was face-to-face, online, through email. And actually, I've seen a greater fall-off for long explanations on email that don't make sense. More face-to-face talking, and people have been learning how to use Zoom or Teams or, and actually really properly interact and have meetings and discussions on video conferencing. And I've just done 2 or 3 courses of various different things, including, the obligatory how to make sourdough bread. Um, and actually those courses, paid for or free, it's really interesting how you've seen them adapt in just 2 months. They've gone from, a lot of them being quite shoddy to actually really quite professional, rather than those little short form videos that you see and annoy you, which you think are going to tell you how to do something, then don't. They just show you it being made, but don't tell you the instruction to it being made. I've suddenly been, blown right up. There's an amazing video I saw by, I think she's an African lady. I don't know where she was, but she was basically showing how to use a proving bowl. And it was just absolutely brilliant. The production value of it wasn't great. Um, but she really explained the entire process of the kneading and the proving and everything. It's just brilliant. It's really, really good. And I think people have, really gone. There's the other one I was watching. I've got a laser cutter, and I decided I was going to make a little laser cut glider. So I was looking all over the place. And eventually, I think Russians must be really into making gliders and planes. Little ready controlled aircraft. And his explanation of how to design the wing was just second to none. And you're sort of saying about all the complex equations you can do, but he goes, "Look, just do this; it'll work." And then explaining that everything you know about flight is pretty much wrong. Just look at Red Bull. Anyway, it was a really good explanation, and it gave me, half a day's fun of, designing a glider, which I think will probably just crash into the ground. But the laser cutter was up and burning, and so I think people have really looked at video and how it can be used. So I think coming out, people are more familiar with the medium of video, and I think a lot of things, people will start to do longer voice messages, longer video messages. Really look at video as a medium. So rather than huge, long, or horrible adverts. Seen lots of horrible adverts with every word that the designer can put on there in different fonts crammed into that space. They're really difficult to read. But now you're starting to see these little Penguin books are really good. They've done quite a few of these where they're short, sweet, like 5 second long adverts, video. And you know what the book is, you know what it's about, just looks brilliant. So I think there's just there's loads of ways that video is now being used. I think it's just more familiar. So I think coming out of COVID and the lockdown, people are going to use video a lot more in their everyday lives. I think it's going to be it's a more familiar and more trusted format than maybe the written word. So I think we're going to see a lot of it. I heard so someone described it as a bit of a Harry Potter moment in evolution, where our newspapers will start to have the video, animated videos in, and sure, there's a lot of that. I was asked to just update something the other day, and that was literally just putting in a couple of overlays and an arrow. It's 10, 15 minutes of time. But it was literally, they wanted something just to animate where something was put. And the explanation is really difficult, but when you can actually see the device in front of you and the little, this little switch that you have to pull out, then you know exactly what it is. And it's impossible to, in words, it's quite difficult and lengthy, can be easily misinterpreted. Video, it can't be because you can see it.
You see it,
Yeah,
exactly. You see it, and then you can just sort of go, "Oh, okay, I saw this, and I'm familiar with this, and I can use it in that respect as well." No, I mean that's good to hear overall. I think that you're definitely right in the respect to. I think there's been a kind of passive adoption of video, whether that's calls like this or just the concept of how we consume, why we consume, what could we create that is more from a business perspective as well about how that's beneficial. But I think that we're also going to find, or people are also going to find, that they use this time. I know I've had people tell me, and others, I'm sure that you know as well, have used this time to specifically think about what they want to do. So whether that's they're in a 9 to 5 that they may be furloughed from, or whatever it may be. What advice would you personally give to someone who either now or soon after lockdown is looking to kind of either develop a side hustle or a side business or another form of income, or go straight into a kind of, right, I'm going to make this work business? Just for clarification, everyone listening, I wouldn't recommend just jumping straight in without any plan. That's a bad idea. But but I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be looking to develop something on the side. So whether that's a business or whether that's another venture. So what kind of advice or tips and tricks that you picked up could you give people? Is basically the question.
A bit of an odd one, but if you love photography and you love shooting video for a hobby, don't do it professionally, because there is no easier way to destroy something you love than to do it, every day. But if you have fallen into that trap, which inevitably 99% of people who you tell that to will, because doing your hobby every day just sounds like the greatest thing in the world. And it is, but as long as you do it on your terms. Because it's only from doing it for my whole professional career that I've ended up doing things that I didn't really want to do, that bored me so much that you just it doesn't just, if you're doing something either that you don't like or with people you don't like, it can really kill your passion for the subject. If you can separate yourself and you can go, right, I'm with an absolutely amazing group of people, or I'm doing filming exactly what I really love filming, or even if you don't like what you're filming, but you're working with some of the most aspirational people, it really works. If you've got all of those, which inevitably at some time you will have, then you're literally floating in the clouds, and it's fantastic. So my advice to anyone thinking as they come out of COVID, they're doing a 9 to 5, sat at their desk, typing away. First advice would be leave that. You don't want to be sat in front of a desk all day. Go do something else. When it comes to video photography and things like that, spend at least a year, maybe 2, doing the cable bashing, doing the skivvy work, working in a, well, you can't really work in a dark room anymore. But working in a dark room is really good. Find a dark room, set your own dark room up and work there. But, assist someone, volunteer. If you're at that 9 to 5, ask to go down to part-time. Honestly, at the moment, I think every boss in the country will say, yeah, absolutely, 3 days a week, fine. Volunteer with a photographer or videographer, become an apprentice, do that, get out, help friends who have businesses, really get to learn the ropes, and talk to, join groups who are involved with videography and photography, and really get a good feeling of your discipline and how much of your life you want to give up. Because one of the greatest issues with doing a hobby or a passion for a profession is that you can piss your partner off beyond belief. Because when you say, I'm just going to go and check something down the in the office.
3 hours later, he's still in his room.
Yeah. I fortunately have my workshop and studio is larger than, it's no longer larger than the house, but we've only got a very small house. But we've got a double height garage, and then another little office off of the garage, my domain. And so I've got my studio downstairs through this door. Then upstairs, there's a workshop, and then this is sort of the admin area. So it can very quickly. Yeah, this the only thing that's not here. I haven't put a kettle in as yet. There's sort of a running joke about never being seen, but I think that's the thing. Think very carefully about what you're going to do, how much of your life you want to give up to it. And being a videographer, a photographer does mean a lot of time out and about. So prepare yourself for getting home and being hardly able to speak. Quite quite often you'll leave at 4 or 5 in the morning to get to a job. You'll be working all day, pack food, always. It's like a military operation. I've got little flight cards. Essentially, when I leave in the mornings, if I'm going, doing an interview, it says 3 cameras, 3 tripods, lighting gear, enough food to feed an army. I have in the garage. I literally have the big 5 litre water bottles. And you're in the supermarket. Who buys those? And there's always one in the car because you'll be out for 12, 20 hours. You need water at the very least, and have an emergency food kit. So yeah, there's I think through lockdown people have really turned to photography, especially as a way of escapism, because you can lose hours. It's like watching a really good program, playing a really great game or whatever. You'll lose yourself, and that's can be the problem. And that's why I say, if you're real passionate about photography and you enjoy it as a hobby, don't do it as a profession, because you are, I think, inherently, by being a videographer or photographer, you are a perfectionist. So to be on a job and told you've got 1 hour, it annoys you.
What do you mean I've got 1 hour? No, I don't.
So some of the guys I used to work with, they used to have to go and film musicians or photograph musicians. So they'd have the journalists go in, they do the interview, and then they'd go in and they do the photograph. One of them saying that literally has 5 minutes, probably less, set up the lighting, if he's even got time to set up lighting. Often he's straight in, takes a picture, and he's out. That's it. And he's got to get this incredible, and the editor, the publisher, they're all relying on them to get the cover shot. And they've got a minute and a half, 5 minutes. And they're sweating it. And so that can take a lot of the fun out of it. But at the same time, it's exhilarating. You come out something like that. Luckily, I've never been in that shorter turnaround. I don't think I'm quite of that level of sort of calmness. I think to do that. So it really does take a certain individual. But they come out, I've done jobs which are fast turnarounds, and you come out and you do feel quite elated when you come out. You're like, yeah, I did it. And it's good. But then yesterday I was out just walking over the hills, taking photographs for fun from, I think, 7 in the morning till about 11. It was supposed to be an hour dog walk. My dog was not in a by the time we got home. But that's the thing, if you can get that even balance, and I think that's what furlough and this whole situation we find ourselves in at the moment has definitely made me think and reevaluate that I do need that time to reintroduce myself to why I love photography and why I love video. And so, on a base level, only do it if you're sure, only do exactly what you want to do. Don't get caught shooting weddings if you don't want to shoot weddings. Don't get caught doing corporate shots if that's not what you want to do. Working in a studio is hard work. It's good. There's a lot of freedom to it, but it's hard. I've never done the flying out to places and doing fashion or anything like that, but I know plenty of people who do and love it on both sides of the camera. But again, I think that that's hard work, and it's difficult to always be away from home in that situation.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Well, I also think it's like coming to terms with the fact that some of the time that you will deliberately not take on jobs so you've got free time to either spend not working or to do more passion related projects where you're not worried about the pressure of a client or the pressure of a budget or the pressure of a deadline or the pressure of, whatever it may be. So you can just get back to why you did it in the first place and why you went down that road in the first place.
I think that's the thing. You've got to keep yourself grounded, I think, is the thing. You've got to always know why you're doing it. And as soon as you hate it, then break. Give yourself a break. But I think if you have made that decision to take up video, and honestly, I'm still doing it, it's because I love it. there is nothing like it. Then I'd say be precious with your kit, like really precious. Take care of it. When you're out and about, always make sure that when you get home, you kind of log everything out and in, charge, download cards, not batteries, clean your kit, make sure your lens is good. Always take a photograph of the sky. Just check if you've got something on your sensor. Just make sure, or grey card really, but just make sure your kit's clean and ready to go the next time. Because I do know people who are a bit slapdash with things. They get to stuff, lens caps missing, all sorts. They haven't turned up with the right kit. They get frustrated and angry, and then they get angry at you, and you're just like, mate, just bring the right kit. Just I was saying that I did turn up the other day without. I was in a rush, and I left the base plate for my tripod at home. Travelled over to Bristol a few months ago. Anyway, luckily some friends were there. They had base plates. But then I had to buy coffee all day, and that got really expensive. So there were 4 of us on the job. I bought 3 tripods, none with base plates. And the reason for that was that I'd taken them all off to clean the tripods and put them on the window shelf, put them back in their bags, and forgotten to pick them up. Stupid.
So I think the ending note on that would be double check everything, and this doesn't even necessarily have to be videography related or photography related. Double check everything you need before you leave the house.
I normally set everything up, record myself, and then pack everything away. At least if you've recorded, you've played it back, and it plays okay, you're all right to go.
Okay, cool. I've got a battery. Okay, cool. I've got a memory card. Okay, great. I can, even if push comes to shove, I can go handheld and I can still get something. We can make it work,
On the other side of things, forgetting the video, forgetting the photography, from day one, get yourself your account sorted, get your legal stuff sorted. So step 1, accounts, either do it yourself with QuickBooks, up to about, I'd say, use QuickBooks till about 25,000 turnover. Anything above that, don't mess around. Just get yourself an accountant. It'll cost you 500 quid probably for them to do your accounts every year. It'll save you sweating and trying to figure things out. The other thing, just get yourself the accountant software and personal liability insurance. Because there will be a time where someone trips over your tripod, decides to try and hang themselves with a mic cable, whatever they inevitably try to do. And you need.
It's a new one. It's a new one for me. Trying to hang themselves with a mic cable.
You just go members of the public. You just can't. Yeah. So
I'll be honest, that hasn't happened to me.
No,
falling over tripods, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it hasn't happened to me, thankfully. But I think the worst thing is tripod battles, where you just get bored and start hitting each other with those. Generally it's get yourself insurance and get yourself a dog, because you'll be on jobs and things which you have to sit around.
It's an optional step as a dog, I think.
Oh no, it's definitely and there'll be times where you're sat up a hillside if you're doing landscapes and things, or You've got, as long as you can't always take a dog with you, but if you can, they're just great icebreakers. It's just there's nothing better than taking a dog along, as long as you've got a well-behaved dog. If you haven't got a well-behaved dog, then it can be really difficult. So maybe not a dog.
This is what I mean by a definite optional step.
Yeah,
But
but generally, yeah. No, they're good fun as well. But yeah,
that'd be,
I
that'd be
think,
an interesting one with a client. Are you a dog person?
yeah, yeah. No, petrified. Good.
Oh dear. Okay, I think we'll end it off there. So thank you very much for coming on. And is there anything that you want to plug, shout out, mention, where people can find you that may be interested from hearing what you've said today?
No, not at the moment. But I'll appear with something hopefully in the next 6 months to a year. At the moment, obviously, I'm working for a company. How long that'll last with COVID and what comes out of that, I've no idea. But once that's over, I'll probably go back onto another venture.
Sounds exciting. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on, and it was lovely talking to you. And I'm sure there'll be other bits and bobs that there'll be crossover with in that respect as well. But I know. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed that small interview and took something away from it, because as always, I'm trying to always add some level of value or some level of value from the conversations on the podcast. And if you would have any suggestions for anyone you would love to hear come on the podcast and talk about anything specifically topic wise or gear wise or etc., then feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. And I thank you guys so much for tuning in this week and joining us for the interview, and I'll see you next week. We're going to be joining an actual new or a duo of other podcasters. I won't actually reveal who they are specifically, but I look forward to sharing that with you next week. If you would like to see little snippet clips of the podcast before the main podcast goes live every Monday at 6 p.m, then make sure to follow us on our socials, Branton Media, everywhere on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on YouTube. And I'd really appreciate the support over there as well. And thank you guys so much for listening and getting this far in the video or in the podcast, and have a wonderful rest of your Monday or whatever other day it may be, that if you're not tuning into this when it actually goes live. But thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week with a brand new episode.